Male friend lured into diabolical trap, true crime story. The unexpected invitation. It was a chilly autumn evening when Alex received a message from his old college friend, Ryan. The two hadn't spoken in years, but Ryan's name flashing on Alex's phone screen stirred a mix of curiosity and nostalgia. "Hey man, long time no see. We should catch up. I've got something to discuss. It's important." The message seemed innocent enough. Alex and Ryan had shared countless memories back in college, late-night study sessions, weekend road trips, and enough laughs to fill a lifetime. But life had gotten in the way. Jobs, relationships, and time had pulled them apart. Still, the idea of reconnecting felt right, even if a bit sudden. "What's up? Been a while." Alex typed back, feeling the warmth of old camaraderie creeping into his fingers. Within seconds, another message pinged through. "Come over to my place tomorrow night. I've got something I need help with. You're the only one I can trust." That phrase, "the only one I can trust," sent a small ripple of concern through Alex's mind. Something about it felt off, but he brushed it aside. People change, and maybe Ryan had just fallen on hard times. What was the harm in catching up with an old friend? The promise of an important conversation piqued his curiosity, drawing him closer to a decision he couldn't fully understand. The next day passed quickly, and by early evening, Alex found himself driving through winding backroads, heading towards Ryan's new place. He'd always preferred the open countryside, but something about the isolation of the location set him on edge. There were no other houses in sight, just the occasional outline of trees bending under the cool wind. As Alex pulled into the gravel driveway, a large, looming house came into view. It was older, with ivy creeping up its stone walls and dim lights barely illuminating the yard. He felt a shiver down his spine, but forced a smile, determined not to let paranoia get the better of him. Ryan greeted him at the door with a wide grin, his features familiar but shadowed by time. "Alex, man. It's so good to see you." His embrace felt tight, almost too tight, like he was holding on for dear life. Alex noticed the interior of the house felt just as dark and eerie as its exterior. The lights flickered slightly, casting long, unsettling shadows on the walls. But Ryan, seemingly unaware, guided Alex inside, chatting casually about old times, laughing in that carefree way Alex remembered from their youth. But the ease didn't last long. Within minutes, Ryan's tone shifted. "I need your help with something," he said abruptly, cutting off their light conversation. "There's something in the basement I need to show you." Alex hesitated. The warmth of their reunion quickly drained, replaced with a prickling sense of unease. "What's in the basement?" he asked, keeping his tone casual, though his instincts screamed at him to leave. "You'll see. It's nothing bad. Just you'll understand when you get down there," Ryan replied, his voice carrying an unsettling edge. Alex took a step back, eyeing the door behind him. Something wasn't right. He could feel it in his bones. "Maybe we should just catch up here first, huh? I didn't come for anything serious. Let's grab a drink and talk." But Ryan's expression shifted into something darker, something unrecognizable. "Alex, trust me. You'll want to see this." The friendly atmosphere shattered. Every part of Alex's body screamed danger. The house, the isolation, the strange invitation, all the signs pointed to one thing. He was trapped, but he had no idea why. His heart raced as Ryan gestured towards the basement door. The air felt heavy, thick with tension. What was Ryan hiding down there? And why did he need Alex to see it? Every instinct told him to run, but Alex couldn't shake the feeling that if he did, things would only get worse. Into the darkness. Against his better judgment, Alex followed Ryan's lead, each step towards the basement door feeling heavier than the last. His mind raced, every scenario of what could be waiting for him down there flashing like scenes from a horror film. The hairs on the back of his neck stood on end as Ryan opened the door, the creak of its hinges echoing ominously through the house. The basement was dark. The kind of darkness that swallowed everything whole. Ryan reached for a switch, and a dim, flickering bulb illuminated the narrow staircase, leading down into the void. Alex hesitated, but Ryan's figure blocked the way out, leaving him with little choice. "You first," Ryan said, his voice low, almost daring Alex to refuse. Alex swallowed hard, nodding silently. As he stepped down the creaking wooden stairs, he felt the air grow colder, the smell of damp stone and mildew filling his nostrils. The basement stretched out into the shadows, its farthest corners hidden from view. "Why are we down here, Ryan?" Alex asked, his voice sounding far more uncertain than he intended. Ryan didn't answer right away. Instead, he closed the basement door behind them, the loud thud reverberating through the walls. It felt final, trapping. "I told you I needed your help, Alex," Ryan finally said, his voice carrying an edge of something menacing. "I wasn't lying." As Alex's eyes adjusted to the dim light, he noticed a large object covered by a tarp in the middle of the basement floor. His heart pounded in his chest. The silence between them grew unbearable. "What's that?" Alex asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Ryan smirked, walking over to the tarp with slow, deliberate steps. "I think it's time you saw the truth, Alex." Before Alex could react, Ryan yanked the tarp away, revealing what was hidden beneath. The sight took Alex's breath away. He staggered back, the world tilting around him as his mind tried to make sense of what he was seeing. A large metal cage sat in the middle of the room, its bars thick and rusty. Inside the cage, something moved. Or rather, someone. A man bound, gagged, and barely conscious lay inside the cage, his face swollen and bruised beyond recognition. "Ryan, what the hell?" "You're in this now, Alex. There's no turning back." The trap had been sprung. The trap tightens. Alex's world spun, his legs feeling weak as the weight of the situation pressed down on him. The air in the basement had turned thick and suffocating, and his breath came in short, shallow gasps. He stared at the bruised figure inside the cage, blinking to convince himself this wasn't some twisted nightmare. But no matter how hard he tried, the reality of it all refused to fade. "What would have you done, Ryan?" Alex stammered, taking another step back, his back hitting the cold stone wall behind him. Ryan's grin widened, his eyes gleaming with a twisted satisfaction. "You remember Kevin, right? Our old buddy from the dorms? He had some unfinished business. Something that needed settling." Alex's blood ran cold. "Kevin? Of course." He remembered him. Kevin had been part of their group in college, always the life of the party, always pushing boundaries. But Kevin had drifted away even earlier than Ryan had, disappearing after some shady dealings. There had been rumors about him getting involved in things he shouldn't have, but Alex never paid them much attention. Now, Kevin lay beaten and bound in a cage, trapped in some hellish situation Alex couldn't even begin to understand. "Ryan, this isn't right. We have to let him go. You can't just..." Ryan's expression darkened, and in a flash, he was standing right in front of Alex, his face mere inches from his. His voice dropped to a low, venomous whisper. "You don't understand, do you? This isn't about letting him go. Kevin betrayed me. He stole from me, lied to me, and he put you in danger too, Alex." Alex felt his heart skip a beat. "Put me in danger? What are you talking about?" Ryan stepped back, pacing in front of the cage. "Kevin didn't just vanish after college, Alex. He got involved in dangerous things. Things that would have come back to haunt us. I was doing you a favor, protecting us both." Alex shook his head, the puzzle pieces refusing to fit together in his mind. None of this made sense. How could Ryan justify kidnapping someone, holding them captive like an animal? "This isn't protection, Ryan. This is madness. We have to call the police." Ryan's laugh cut him off, cold and humorless. "The police? You think they'd believe you, Alex? You're part of this now. You're here. You've seen too much. If Kevin talks, if he gets loose, they'll come for both of us." The words hit Alex like a punch to the gut. Ryan wasn't just playing a sick game, he was dragging Alex into his twisted world, making him complicit. Panic surged through Alex as he looked at the cage, at Kevin's battered body, and back at Ryan's unsettling smirk. "I didn't ask for this," Alex shouted, his voice cracking. "I'm not part of this. I just came here because you said you needed help." "And I do," Ryan replied, his voice chillingly calm. "I need your help to finish what we started." Alex's stomach churned as he realized the full extent of the trap. Ryan had no intention of letting him leave, not without binding him to this horror. In Ryan's mind, they were in this together, whether Alex wanted to be or not. Kevin groaned from inside the cage, his eyes fluttering open for the first time. His swollen, bloodshot gaze landed on Alex, pleading silently for help. Alex's heart raced. He had to find a way out of this. A way to save Kevin and himself. "I need some air," Alex muttered, turning towards the stairs, desperate to escape the suffocating atmosphere of the basement. Ryan stepped in front of him, blocking his path. "You're not going anywhere, Alex. We're in this together now. No turning back." Alex's mind raced, searching for an escape, for any way out of this nightmare. He couldn't let Ryan trap him here. He couldn't let this madness consume him. His eyes darted around the basement, looking for anything he could use, anything that could give him an advantage. But the only thing within reach was the cage. And Kevin. A plan formed in the back of his mind, reckless and dangerous, but it was the only chance he had. "I understand, Ryan," Alex said, forcing his voice to steady. "You're right. Kevin's a danger to us both. We need to finish this." Ryan's eyes narrowed suspiciously, but the flicker of doubt in his gaze showed that he wasn't fully convinced of Alex's sudden change in tone. "You really mean that?" Alex nodded, swallowing the bile rising in his throat. "Yeah, I do. But I need to know what you're planning. How do we finish this?" Ryan's eyes gleamed again with that dangerous excitement. "I knew you'd come around, Alex. We'll make it look like an accident. No one will ever know." Alex's heart raced as Ryan turned his back for a moment, rummaging through a nearby chest for something tools, perhaps, or worse. This was his moment, his one chance. He lunged towards the cage, grabbing the rusted lock that held Kevin inside. Kevin's swollen eyes widened in shock as Alex frantically tried to break it open. Ryan's voice echoed from behind him. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" Alex barely had time to react before Ryan grabbed him by the collar, yanking him backward with surprising force. Alex stumbled, crashing into a pile of old furniture, the impact knocking the wind out of him. "You really thought you could just let him go?" Ryan snarled, standing over Alex with a murderous gleam in his eyes. "I trusted you, Alex.
And you betrayed me."
The trap had fully sprung, and now there was no escape. Fight or flight. Alex's mind raced, adrenaline pumping through his veins as he scrambled to his feet. He was outmatched. Ryan had always been stronger, quicker. But Alex had something more important on his side now. Desperation. "Ryan, stop.
"We can fix this."
We can still fix this," Alex pleaded, trying to buy himself time. But Ryan wasn't listening. His eyes were wild, filled with rage and betrayal. "There's no fixing this," Ryan growled, advancing on Alex. "You were supposed to be my friend. Now, you're just like Kevin. A liability." Alex's back hit the wall again, his options shrinking by the second. He had only one way out. He had to fight. His eyes darted around, searching for something, anything he could use to defend himself. His hand closed around a metal pipe, cold and solid, leaning against the wall. Without thinking, he swung it with all his might. The pipe collided with Ryan's side, sending him staggering backward with a grunt of pain. It wasn't enough to take him down, but it bought Alex a few precious seconds. He bolted for the stairs, heart pounding in his chest. If he could just make it to the door, he could get out, he could get help. But Ryan was fast, faster than Alex had anticipated. He was on him in seconds, tackling him to the ground before he could reach the bottom step. They tumbled down the stairs together, fists flying, bodies colliding with brutal force. Alex struggled, trying to break free from Ryan's iron grip, but his friend-turned enemy had the upper hand. "You think you can run?" Ryan spat, his voice twisted with fury. "You're not going anywhere." Alex gasped for breath, his vision blurring as Ryan's hands closed around his throat, squeezing tighter and tighter. Darkness edged his vision, and for a moment, he thought it was over. But then, a voice broke through the haze.
"Help me."
Kevin's voice. Weak, barely a whisper, but it was enough. With the last bit of strength he had left, Alex kicked out, his foot connecting with Ryan's knee. Ryan howled in pain, loosening his grip just enough for Alex to wriggle free. Gasping for air, Alex crawled toward the cage, his fingers bleeding as he tried to force the lock open again. He could hear Ryan recovering behind him, getting to his feet.
There was no time.
No more chances. And then, with a loud snap, the lock broke. The cage door swung open and Kevin, barely able to move, crawled out. Together, Alex and Kevin stumbled toward the stairs, their bodies battered and broken, but their will to survive unbroken. Ryan's footsteps echoed behind them, but this time, Alex didn't look back. The trap had tightened, but Alex had one last move left. They would escape, or die trying. The narrow escape. The basement seemed to grow colder as Alex and Kevin scrambled up the stairs, their breaths coming in ragged gasps. Alex's mind was a whirlwind of fear and determination. They had to get out, no matter the cost. Behind them, Ryan's furious shouts reverberated through the house, echoing with a chilling intensity that spurred them onward. Kevin, still dazed and weak from his captivity, leaned heavily on Alex for support. His swollen face was a stark reminder of the brutality they had just witnessed. The sight of Ryan's enraged figure, silhouetted against the dim light of the basement, drove Alex to move faster, despite the pain in his own body. As they reached the top of the stairs, Alex glanced back to see Ryan's furious, red face appearing at the base of the stairs, his eyes blazing with murderous intent. "You think you can just walk away?" Ryan's voice boomed, filled with a dangerous edge. "You'll never make it out of here." The basement door slammed shut behind them with a deafening thud, and Alex fumbled for the doorknob. His hands were shaking uncontrollably, making it difficult to turn the handle. He threw the door open with a burst of adrenaline, pulling Kevin along as they stumbled into the darkened hallway of the house. The silence of the upper floors was eerie, contrasting sharply with the chaos they had just escaped. Alex's heart pounded in his chest as he and Kevin moved through the shadows, trying to avoid making any noise that might alert Ryan to their whereabouts. Every creak of the floorboards felt like a shout in the oppressive silence. "Where do we go?" Kevin croaked, his voice barely audible. His eyes, though swollen, were wide with fear and confusion. "We need to find a way out," Alex whispered urgently. "There has to be a back door, or a window we can use." They navigated through the maze of darkened rooms, their movements cautious and deliberate. The house was a sprawling, labyrinthine structure, each room more unsettling than the last. Old furniture and dusty relics lined the hallways, adding to the feeling of decay and neglect. Alex felt a creeping sense of dread as they ventured deeper into the house. Suddenly, a noise from behind them made Alex freeze. Ryan's footsteps were unmistakable, growing louder as he closed in. "You can't hide forever." Ryan's voice echoed through the house, filled with malevolent glee. Alex's panic surged. "We need to move, now." They burst into a large room with a series of windows lined up along one wall. The windows were old and covered in grime, but Alex's eyes focused on a set of double doors at the far end of the room. The doors looked like they led to the outside. With a desperate burst of energy, Alex dragged Kevin towards them. But as they neared the doors, a sudden, blinding flash of light from behind them illuminated the room. Ryan had found them. His shadows stretched long and menacing across the floor, and his figure was silhouetted against the light. "No!" Alex shouted, his voice hoarse with urgency. "We're almost there." They reached the double doors, and Alex flung them open with all his remaining strength. The cold night air hit them like a slap in the face, a welcome contrast to the suffocating heat of the house. They stumbled out into the yard, which was shrouded in darkness and surrounded by dense trees. Alex glanced back and saw Ryan's figure in the doorway, his face twisted with rage and frustration. "You're not getting away," Ryan roared, stepping out into the yard, but the darkness swallowed him as he moved further from the house. Alex and Kevin ran towards the trees, their breaths coming in ragged gasps. The ground was uneven, and Alex had to help Kevin navigate through the rough terrain. The sounds of Ryan's shouts faded behind them, but the sense of danger was still palpable. They made their way through the dense forest, the trees offering some cover from Ryan's sight. Alex's mind raced as he tried to find a clear path to safety. They needed to get far enough away so that Ryan couldn't find them again, and they needed to call for help as soon as possible. Eventually, they stumbled upon a narrow dirt road that seemed to lead towards a more populated area. Alex pulled out his phone, his fingers trembling as he dialed 911. The call connected, and he spoke quickly and urgently, explaining their location and the situation. "We're in the woods off of State Road 32, Alex said, his voice strained. "Please, you need to send help. We're being chased." The dispatcher's calm voice on the other end was a small relief. "Help is on the way. Stay where you are and try to stay hidden." Alex hung up and turned to Kevin. "Help is coming. We just need to stay hidden until they arrive." They found a small clearing and huddled together, trying to calm their racing hearts. The forest around them seemed to close in, the shadows growing darker with each passing moment. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig, made them jump. Minutes felt like hours as they waited in the cold, the weight of their situation pressing down on them. The sounds of sirens grew louder in the distance, finally bringing a glimmer of hope to their desperate situation. The flashing lights of the police cars cut through the darkness, and the officers quickly found them in the clearing. They were taken to safety, where medics tended to Kevin's injuries, and the police began their investigation into the horrific events at Ryan's house. As they were led away, Alex glanced back at the darkened forest, a shiver running down his spine. Ryan's anger and betrayal had left a deep scar, and the night's events had forever changed him. But at least they were safe now, and justice would be served. The truth revealed. The days following their escape were a whirlwind of police investigations, media attention, and the unsettling reality of facing the truth about Ryan's actions. Alex and Kevin were given protection and counseling, their lives upended by the trauma they had endured. The police investigation revealed the extent of Ryan's criminal activities. He had been involved in a series of illegal schemes, including blackmail and extortion. Kevin's kidnapping had been part of a twisted plan to silence him and eliminate any threats to Ryan's operation. The shocking details of Ryan's actions and the elaborate trap he had set were laid bare. Alex found himself grappling with a mix of relief and horror. The sense of betrayal was profound. Ryan had been more than a friend. He had been a trusted confidant. The knowledge that such a person could harbor such malevolent intentions was almost too much to bear. The media coverage of the case was intense. The story of the diabolical trap and the narrow escape from Ryan's clutches captivated the public, bringing both sympathy and scrutiny to Alex and Kevin. Interviews and news reports painted a dramatic picture of their ordeal, but the reality of their experience was far more painful than any headline could convey. As Alex and Kevin began the long process of healing, they found solace in their friendship. The bond forged through their shared trauma helped them navigate the difficult path ahead. Therapy and support groups offered a place to confront their fears and work through the psychological scars left by the experience. Ryan's trial was a public spectacle. The evidence against him was overwhelming, and the prosecution's case was strong. Ryan's actions were condemned, and he was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The justice system had delivered a measure of retribution for the suffering he had caused, but the emotional scars remained. Alex and Kevin, though scarred by their experience, found a sense of closure. They had survived the diabolical trap and emerged stronger, though forever changed. They moved forward with their lives, each day a reminder of their resilience and the strength they had found in each other. As time passed, they began to rebuild their lives, finding new ways to find joy and purpose despite the shadow of their past. The ordeal had tested them in ways they could never have imagined, but it had also shown them the power of friendship, courage, and the will to survive. The story of their escape and the truth behind Ryan's trap became a stark reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind a familiar face. But it also highlighted the strength and determination that can shine through even the darkest of times. Epilogue. A new beginning. Years later, Alex and Kevin reflected on their journey with a mix of gratitude and sadness. The memories of that fateful night were still vivid, but they had found a way to move forward, carving out new paths for themselves. They remained in touch, their friendship a testament to their shared ordeal and their collective strength. Alex had used his experience to advocate for victims of crime, speaking out about the importance of vigilance and support. He found purpose in helping others navigate their own dark times, turning his trauma into a force for good. Kevin, too, had found a new direction. He had dedicated himself to rebuilding his life, finding peace and stability in a world that had once seemed so uncertain. He channeled his experiences into personal growth and advocacy, determined to make a positive impact. Though the scars of their past would always remain, they had learned to live with them, embracing the strength they had discovered within themselves. The darkness of that night had given way to a new dawn, one filled with hope, resilience, and the promise of a brighter future.